Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the program. We're at the halfway point of the show now, which is leading us to our first discussion of the morning. And we're going to talk about a topic that is quite long overdue, which is smoking. Now, we all know that smoking and nicotine and its effects on our health, what it actually is. But these days, many of those who are trying to stamp out the habit or quit smoking prefer to choose vaping, which some say is a less harmful option than cigarettes.
That's right. However, ironically, vape has also been widely popular among teenagers. It has also become a lifestyle since many find it cooler to vape than smoke. And so to find out if vaping is actually better than smoking, we will now discuss with Persahabatan General Hospital's pulmonologist, Dr. Erlina Burhan in the studio. Good morning, Ibu. Thank you so much for coming to the studio.
Good to see you.
Good morning.
Yeah.
It's been a
My
while.
pleasure to be here again.
Great to have you back.
Yeah. So, Ibu, I think it's safe to say that we all know the difference of cigarette and vaping as a form, as a product, right? But what actually is the difference as an overall between cigarettes and vape?
So I think the main differences of the two devices lies on the way they deliver the nicotine and other substance. So with traditional cigarette smoking, it burns the tobacco, become the smoke, and this smoke is inhaled by the user. And we do know that smoke contain of nicotine and other dangerous chemical substance.
Yeah.
Okay, while with vape, vape is the new generation of electric cigarette. The way they deliver is by heating the e-liquid in the device to produce aerosol, and that is also inhaled by the user.
Now, I guess the next question would be, is it actually safer, vape, compared to cigarette?
I don't think the word safe is suitable for addressing the dangers of the two devices. I mean, I think it is better to say that vape is less harmful than cigarette smoking, but it doesn't mean safer because there are still the health risk factor on the vape.
Yeah, we have to be careful when using the word safe because many might get the idea that, oh, it's a safe thing to do, whereas...
Let's do it.
Yeah, safe is just not doing anything at all, neither of these two things. Now, we do know that you mentioned the delivery systems is different. Combustion creates other chemicals, byproducts, right? For example, tar. Those are some of the things that people associate with lung cancer down the road over years of smoking conventional cigarettes.
Yeah.
But vaping eliminates that part of it because when you're only heating liquid, it creates a vapor, which is why it's called vape. And vapor and smoke is vastly different when it comes to byproducts. So what sort of chemicals are being used? Because we know that it's vegetable glycerin, if I'm not mistaken, and propylene glycerin.
Yeah,
that's the other
propylene
two.
glycerin.
So those are two main ingredients when it comes to an e-liquid. But what are some of the byproducts that be created from vaping?
Well, there are many substances that consist in the vape.
Okay.
The main thing is nicotine.
Yes.
That is similar with cigarette, conventional cigarette. But the other substances are, you mentioned the propylene glycol and also vegetable glycerin.
Yes.
Propylene glycol produce the strongest throat heat.
Right.
And
It
then
emulates the cigarette, right?
And then the vegetables glycerin produce the cloud,
Okay.
thickening the cloud of the aerosol.
Right.
So there's some sensation.
Right.
Yeah? And the other chemical in the flavor
Okay.
to give the flavor of fruit,
Mint or whatever it is. There's so many
menthol, and
flavors, right?
beverage, etc., which give a more experience to the user.
Okay.
They like it. So there are some of these flavoring chemical agent that we need to be worried about because let's say long time ago in early 2000 we heard of the, very rare, but we heard of the case of popcorn lung.
Yes, I've heard of
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah, so it doesn't mean that your lung is become a popcorn,
Right.
of course, but this disease happening in the popcorn manufacture.
Okay.
So, in the popcorn producing, they use diacetyl.
Yes.
Diacetyl is the chemical that can give the flavor of butter. And this kind of chemical is also in some time used in liquid of the vape also.
So if I'm
So
not
we have to be
mistaken-
careful
yeah,
with the manufacturer. You have to look at the
labels and
the
ingredients.
labels, and also, I mean, there are already a ban of the using of diacetyl in some countries.
Yes.
For instance, United Kingdom and USA. So
Right.
please take a look of the labels and then whether there is that kind of substance in the liquid.
Yeah, because this was a phenomenon that occurred for people who worked in these popcorn factories, and they were inhaling this, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of works the same thing.
And then there's because they keep inhaling them.
Right.
So it's the continuing of inflammation occurred, and that's resulting in the damage of small airway in the lung that cause the severe coughing, and then also the chest pain
Yes.
and breathlessness. Then
And hospitalization. in a lot
Oh,
of
yes,
these
of
cases,
course, yeah.
right?
And I think knowledge is power, right? So we know that, for example, like alcohol, what it does to our body is that it acts as a diuretics, that it actually absorbs liquid or good substances in our body, right? So our body is, we don't have as much as the good substance in our body. But can you share with us what are these chemicals in vape actually do to our body aside from the one that you mentioned before? Aside from the flavor, you mentioned that there are other chemicals as well in the vape. What does it actually do in our body?
Okay, let me start with the nicotine. That's also found in cigarette. So nicotine can cause a lot of damage in the body, and nicotine is an addictive substance. So people can get addiction, and this is dangerous. Nicotine can cause the cardiovascular disease and also lung disease, and also the cancer.
Okay.
That's from nicotine. But for from this other substance, chemical, it's also make irritation of the lung. And then by the end of the day, if you keep consuming that chemical, even though at the beginning is because of the quantity is small, but since people think this is safer, they keep
Right.
doing it.
Yes.
So then the chemical is getting increasing and increasing, and anything that overwhelm will damage your system.
So nicotine by itself, regardless of its delivery system, is dangerous for you. How dangerous is it compared to other things? Because we're addicted to many things, like caffeine, for example, or some people are addicted to sugar. Where does nicotine rank on those other substances compared to other substances?
The addiction of nicotine is very dangerous. They can, as I mentioned to you, it can increase the cardiovascular disease.
Okay, the chances of any kind of a vascular
Yeah.
disease down the road, like
Yeah,
later. Okay.
and also for the lung disease as well. You can get COPD, and then can treat, and also cancer.
Right.
Lung cancer is
That's the worst.
survival is very, very low.
Okay. All right.
And aside from vaping, we also have e-cigarettes. Are they, what is the difference between vape and e-cigarettes in the first place, and which one do you think is more harmful?
Well, the e-cigarette is always have a evolution. So there is a first generation, second generation, third generation, and fourth generation. The first and second is still burnt tobacco in it.
Yes.
For this e-cigarette. But the new generation is vape.
It's heating, right?
It's
heating the
heating,
tobacco.
not burning the tobacco,
Correct.
but heating the liquid.
Yes.
And then this e-liquid or vape juice, they call it, also consists of nicotine.
Okay.
Even though there is no tobacco in there, but it consists nicotine and other chemical stuff that also dangerous in the long run.
Right.
And this vape is a very new phenomenon. And then there are still many things we don't really know about it.
Like the long-term effects, right?
Yes,
Because it's been
exactly.
only around for
Yeah,
like 10
long-term
years.
effect is still under research by scientists.
Right.
And you know, the purpose of the vape actually is for the active smoker to give an option if they want to do smoking, quit smoking. Yeah.
Yep.
For the active smoker, not for the non-smoker.
Yes, correct.
Okay, because when you are active smoker and then you have this nicotine addiction, while transitioning to the vape, it is considered that you will get less nicotine.
Right.
Okay,
Correct.
so then the addiction will be reduced time by time.
Okay.
But in reality, this is the problem.
Yeah.
The vape is using now not by the active smoker, but the
They're
non-smoker.
just picking it up and starting
Yeah.
a new habit.
Especially the young generation.
Exactly, because
Because they think it's cool to
very
do
cool,
that.
and then it's like
It's got flavors.
yeah, peer group pressure, lifestyle,
Right.
awesome, cool,
Right.
and they have it.
I also have an additional thing to add in regards to that. So I used to be I would be considered a light smoker or a social smoker. And the way I stopped smoking was through vaping. But one of the issues that I realized later on is when you smoke cigarettes, you can't just smoke anywhere. Like you can't smoke indoors or in your house.
But
When it
not
comes to
with vaping.
You can kind of do it a little more often. You can do it in your car and it doesn't it
Everywhere.
doesn't smell up your car. You can do it at home and the vape quickly disappears. So I find that with vaping, although I can reduce the nicotine content in it time over time, but I'm actually vaping more often than I would if I was smoking. So it may be a method to quit smoking, but I think the bigger question would be, what is the best way to quit nicotine? Because
Yeah.
if we say quit smoking by vaping, well, you might be more addicted to vaping. So how do we quit the addiction to nicotine?
Okay, before I answer that question,
Yes.
I also would like to mention that people who are active smoker and then try to quit smoking by using vaping, you're lucky you then quit smoking. But other even do both of them.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've seen that.
One
do
for
vaping.
outdoor maybe and one for indoor.
So that there is no way of quitting smoking doing both of them.
Right.
And for the young generation or to those non-smokers, they start vaping, they have this addiction to nicotine and they start doing
They start smoking conventional cigarettes. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay,
goodness.
they, again, both.
Yes.
They do both.
Right.
And actually, as a doctor, I would say that do not do either of them.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So, to those who are smokers, we recommend to start to proceed with the stop smoking or quitting smoking. It is not easy.
Yes.
It is not easy, but first you have to be, that is your will. It is from your heart. It's not because your spouse asks you to, or your friend asks you, your mom, your father, or your husband, or your wife, girlfriend, and boyfriend. No, it is because you want to.
You have to do it for yourself.
Yeah,
Right.
you will to do it, and there should be a good willing from your heart, deep down inside, and also with your mind, because there is dangers.
Yeah.
And yeah, you need counseling for sure.
Okay.
Do not do it by yourself. Because there is a few person do it by themselves, what's called that cold turkey approach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just stop everything.
Stop everything. Yeah, but in many people it doesn't work. Yeah,
Yeah.
only a special kind of person can do cold
Right.
turkey. Yeah?
Right.
So counseling and also family support and behavior support. You have to change your behavior and then try to prevent exposure to the environment.
Yes.
And that needs a family support.
Yes.
Yeah, to prevent them to go back to the environment, to prevent for the exposure to any related smoking situation.
Yeah, I have another thing I can add here as well. Reduce the activities that you relate to smoking. For example, if you enjoy having a glass of wine, then kind of stop that as well, because then those are triggers as well to make
Changing
you
your
want to smoke.
behavior.
Changing your behavior. So real quick, because I know we're running out of time, there's a couple of other options for delivering nicotine. For example, there's a nicotine patch or there's gum. Do those things count as better alternatives because you're not inhaling anything, or is the danger still inherently there because it's still nicotine?
Yeah, chewing gum, people doing a lot of that, but that chewing gum alone is not enough. You need counseling.
Okay.
And then the other thing that we mentioned before.
Yeah.
And also the nicotine replacement treatment.
Yes.
Yes, it's supposed to be helping to quit smoking, but we have a problem, a challenge with the accessibility. It is difficult to find now.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's true.
right.
Doc, it's been great having you here on the program again in our new studio.
Thank you.
And glad to have you here to discuss
Yeah.
this very interesting and important topic.
Yeah. Thank you, Ibu.
Thank you, Raisa.
All right, now we're moving on to our short break. In the meantime, don't forget to follow our social media accounts if you haven't already. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at See Today News. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.